Tissues and cells become very important when we look at plants. Plants are a little bit different than animals in that plants have a few types of tissues and a few types of cells, and there's not this tremendous variation like organs that you find inside of people, but rather we're looking at a few very distinct tissues and cells. When we break down the tissue, three types of tissue. One is dermal tissue. Dermal tissue, outside. Think skin. It's what's on the outside of the organism. Vascular tissue. In the case of plants, vascular tissue moves water or sap. It moves water out of the soil up to the top part of the plant. It moves sap down. Think of it kind of like the circulatory system. The difference is there is no moving pump, and this material takes things in one of two directions. Either it goes up or it goes down. And then we have ground tissue. And ground tissue, by definition, is everything else. So once we understand what's dermal, once we understand what's vascular, everything else is ground tissue. We start out here with dermal tissue, and it says dermal tissue is a thin layer on the outside of the plant, often just one cell layer thick. It keeps the insides in and the outsides out. When we look at this photograph of a microscope slide, what we see is on the outside we got the dermal tissue. It's one cell layer thick. And it goes along the outside. You can see a little pink on top of it, and that little pink on top of it is going to be polymerized fatty acids that we are going to call cutin or wax, and that's going to help keep it from drying out. Dermal tissue, outside. We also have what we call trichomes. Trichomes are small extensions of the dermal cell, which means they add a little bit to the outside of the dermal cell. If you look at this plant looks fuzzy. It's got all these little extensions on the outside of it. Those are trichomes. This is cotton. Yes, cotton is a trichome. It's an extension of the dermal cells of the seed. Here's some other types of trichomes we get. This is on a zucchini plant, and you can see that they're all over the place, and they come in couple of different sizes and formats, and they look kind of strange and they look kind of fuzzy. And when we look here, here's another one. And again, these are elongate, and they are trichomes. They're extensions of dermal cells. Again, this is extensions of dermal cells, and these were found on a cucumber plant. This is the fuzzy outside of the leaf as it's starting out. Very interesting there. These are really bizarre. These are found on a predatory plant that basically produces these little trichomes with these little adhesive dots on the outside of it. An insect comes over, lands on it, and it gets stuck. And then the insect is going to die, and the nutrients are going to be surrendered to the plant. So trichomes, very interesting outer part. We have vascular tissue. Vascular tissue said we're going to have transport. We have xylem. Xylem conducts water and nutrients that are brought out of the soil by the roots and sent to the top of the plant. Xylem is often found in these little bundles like this. They tend to be a little bit larger cells, and they transport material around. And we have phloem. Phloem is living tissue that conducts sap and water and dissolved sugars down to the roots. Xylem is effectively kind of like a soda straw. It's what we call dead, where phloem is effectively living as it actively pumps things down. Phloem in this case is going to be found in these little bundles to the outside here. We've got ground tissue. Ground tissue, we said, is everything else. Here's our dermal tissue. Here's our vascular tissue in our phloem and our xylem, which means ground tissue is everything else. And there's a lot of ground tissue in there. Let's look at the cell types that we have on ground tissue. Ground tissue, we said, was everything else. First type is going to be Sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma comes in two flavors. One are sclerids. Sclerids are a little sclero, hard. These are little hard things on the inside of tissue. We have fibers. Fibers are kind of like vascular tissue, but they're not kind of like vascular tissue. And these can be put together into much larger things. So let's take a look at sclerids and fibers. Sclerenchyma, sclero, hard. Think of a pear. Now you've eaten a pear, and when you think of a pear, it's gritty. So some people like pears, some people don't. And one of the things we have is gritty. And the grit that you find on the inside of it is actually the sclerenchyma. You squish it around, you can feel the grit. Tissue on the outer part of the apple is sclerenchyma. It's hard tissue. When we think of this, we also think of things like the pit of a peach. It's hard tissue. It's material that's there that is made up of sclerenchyma. Sclero, hard. We have sclerenchyma in the form of fibers. This is a composite picture. It's got flax, and you can see the flax has got these little stems in it, and they process the stems down, and they get the fibers out of it, and out of the fibers they can make thread, or they can make yarn, or they can make rope, or they can make many different things. And often it is converted into things like linen. And linen is one of those things that lasts forever. It does extremely well. And it's made out of fibers. Very durable material. We've got Collenchyma. Colla is Latin for glue. This is stretchy type material. You've all seen celery. You've tried to eat celery. What's the problem with celery? Celery sometimes doesn't eat too well because of the collenchyma. This is a piece of celery that's stained. You can see the vascular bundles, and around the vascular bundles you've got collenchyma. It holds it together. When you take celery and you don't cut it right, or it comes apart like that because it's gluey, it's stretchy. This is collenchyma. Now, it says we got parenchyma. Going back 3 types. Sclerenchyma hard, collenchyma gluey, parenchyma is going to be everything else. So it's the tissue that's there everywhere. You look at something like a potato. These are rather unique potatoes. These were purple potatoes we bought. The inside of the potato, the soft area, is all parenchyma. Lots and lots and lots of parenchyma. On the inside of a peach, the part that you eat is mostly parenchyma. It's a soft material in there. The skin of the potato is the dermal tissue. You've got some vascular tissue on the inside, but most of it's going to be parenchyma. If we cut something apart, what we see is the outer layer is the dermal tissue. The orange inner layer is the endodermis. Inside of that, we've got vascular tissue, but everything else is parenchyma. Parenchyma are cells with thin walls and lots of space. So when we look at these, we see a bunch of different kinds of tissue in there. And they become important. Just going back, reviewing the whole thing. Dermal tissue is on the outside. We have extensions of the dermal tissue that we call things like trichomes. We have vascular tissue that is the xylem and the phloem. And the xylem and the phloem convert sap and water around in the plant. And then we have ground tissue. Ground tissue is everything else. In the ground tissue, we have the type that's hard. We call it sclerenchyma. We have the type that's gluey. We call that collenchyma. And what's left over is parenchyma.